Hi everyone, it's Nancy from stampandshout.com. Welcome, welcome. And we're going to make the candy bowl. Oh, thanks so much for all your interest in that candy bowl. It is fun though. I really like it. I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get started. So, oh my gosh, you guys. I made these candy bowls and I guess everyone really likes them. They're really cute, aren't they? So there's a Valentine candy bowl. Put some M&Ms in there. Here's a little Easter candy bowl. It's got the little bunny on there, little tag. And then my St. Patrick's Day one with the gold kisses inside there. I thought that was fun. They're very, very sturdy. They hold a lot. Let me show you. They hold a lot of candy or whatever you want to put in them. Boy, this is so nice because you do not need a lot of supplies to make this. So I have a piece, I'm going to make this one in Gorgeous Grape. So I have Gorgeous Grape is going to make the box, and then whatever color paper that you have or however you want to design it. So I'm going to use a piece of Designer Series paper, and I'm also going to use some scrap white ones, and you'll see. We'll get started here. So this cardstock is 10.5 by 6 1/4. And then we're going to score it on both sides at 1 1/4 inch all the way across. So I got the 10.5 piece up here at the top. Okay, so 10.5 inch pieces at the top. I'm going to score it at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3/4, 5, 6 1/4, 7 1/2, 8 3/4, and 10. So again, that's 1 1/4 inch increments all the way across. So I'm going to turn it and do the same thing. So I'm going to score it. This is a 6 1/4 width. I'm going to score it at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 3 3/4, and 5. So you guys can watch this over again if you need to see how I did this. Okay, so let me bring in my bone folder here, and we're going to go ahead and give all these score lines a nice crease. And this is really important when you're making this because it's all crunched up and got all those little curves to it. So you really want to make sure that you give it a nice crease. So I would use my bone folder. And Stampin' Up's cardstock is amazing. It's so, what's the word, you guys? It's just a high quality cardstock, you know, so it's not going to fall apart when you're doing this. And wait till you see what in a second when I'm doing the angles. You really got to give it a good crease. And this paper, this cardstock is amazing. So again, this is Gorgeous Grape cardstock. Okay, so we got that done. Now we're going to do a little bit of cutting. So I have off to the side over here is my 1/2 inch side. First thing I'm going to do is, I'm just looking at my little, I'm going to cut away the bottom tiny rectangle, and I'm also going to cut away up here, top. So with this over here on my right, I'm going to go ahead and cut up on each of these score lines just to the first score line. So we got that, right? So I cut up to the very first score line. But I need to bring in my ruler and do this other little scoring here. So let me bring in my stylist. So on this first score line right there, we're going to mark the 5/8 inch center of each of these squares. Hang on. So this square right here, that first square, I'm going to mark 5/8. Just going to go like that. Just give it a little jig jag. Then I'm going to skip a square, go to the next square, and do the same thing. So you want to mark the center of each of these squares. So let me do that and we'll talk about it. Okay. Okay, so now that I've got the center, I'm going to do a diagonal score. So let me tell you what I did again. So on the second row of squares, I started at the first square and I marked the center, and I skipped every other one and I marked the center because we're going to do diagonal scores. So that little jig-jag that I marked there is going to give me my point, my center point, and I'm going to go from that corner down to my mark. And this is where I said you really want to score. So I'm going to actually go back and forth a few times. And then I'm going to go the other way. So again, I'm finding that the corner and my mark. Okay, we do that all the way across, but every other one. Every other one is where we put that little jig-jag. So that's the bottom. So again, we got the 1/2 inch edge over here. We cut the bottom squares, every single score line up to the first score line. We did our diagonals on the bottom. We did it there and there and there and there. There's 4 of them, every other one, but we started right at the beginning. Now I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to cut on these score lines. I'm going to cut to the second score line. So you with me so far? It's not too hard. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in my tear and tape. So again, I turn this around so I have this at the bottom with the little angled score lines. And here's my little 1/2 inch piece. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and put tape on that side. Let's put it. This is where we started, and there's my tape. Just making sure it's nice and stuck. Okay, so before I go any further, I just like to take and angle these little score lines that I did, the little angled ones. I kind of like, just kind of help them. We're going to fold them in a minute, but I just kind of, I'm folding them down and kind of making them, helping them out there for when we go ahead and make our complete little bowl. So I'm just kind of, just a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead, there's our tape. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half and attach the one end to the other end. I need to get my head in here so I can see. Pretty much just folded it in half. So now we got this little thing right here, okay? So this is the bottom of our box. And I'm going to bring my tear and tape in. So before I sealed this, what I should have done was everywhere there is the little scored line is we needed to cut this tab off. So there's a score line there, the little angled score. We needed to cut this tab off. Sorry about that. You can still do it, it's just it would have been easier to do it before we made the circle. So we're cutting the tab off everywhere we did that. So there should only be 4 tabs at the bottom. So here's what it would have looked like. So everywhere we angled it is where I cut the tab off. So there should only be 4 at the bottom. So now I'm going to bring in my tear and tape and put some tear and tape on these little tabs. So I put it on 3. I don't put it on the 4th one, but you could. So this is the bottom of my box, and we only have 4 tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and match the opposite tabs. All right, so I'm going to take this tab, and all I'm going to do is bring it together like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now this one here, this is the one that you need to start folding in those little angled pieces. I just want to trim this a little bit better. It kind of automatically just goes together nicely. It's not that hard. Looks harder than it is, but you just play with it. See how they want to go in? Like that. So I'm just kind of helping it along. I'm going to take one and bring it right there. That's why this one's harder. That's why I put tape on both of these. It's harder to bring it together. So when I put one in, I want to make sure it holds, so I put tape on it. So I'm going to take and just kind of help it along, and it fits perfectly on that square. So you just got to match up the bottom and match up the top. Like that. See how it kind of just went in? So I got that sealed. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so let me take this tear and tape off. So now I'm going to bring this in, and because we creased it a little bit earlier, it's going to be kind of easy to do. And if it gives you trouble, make sure this whole bottom part's open. Just keep it open. And that made our bottom, okay? That's the hardest part. The rest is simple. So I'm going to take and fold each one of these. I fold, see how it's double? I'm going to fold it down. Just plop it into bottom. Fold it down. Just plop. I'm not even gluing these. They stick perfectly. You don't even have to fuss with them. So I'm just folding it down and pushing it into the bowl. Folding it down all the way around. That's it. See, it stays perfectly. That's the bowl. So now I'm going to put a little bit of decorating here on the outside. So I'm going to bring in a scrap, and what I did was I have a 1-inch punch. So I did these ahead of time, but I'm going to make one with you. I'll show you how I did that. And then my designer series paper, so I have 4 that I made like this, and then I'm going to have 4. It's however you want to decorate it, and I'll bring in the other ones in a second and show you what I did. So I need 4 squares. These are 1-inch squares. So obviously, if you don't have a 1-inch punch, this is what you're going to do. You're going to bring in whatever paper you're going to use, and you're going to cut it. Let me get a nice little edge here. Okay, so we got a straight edge. I'm going to cut it at 1 inch. So I got a 1-inch strip. And then you need 8 1-inch squares. So that's all you're going to do. So whatever you choose to decorate it with, you need 8 1-inch squares. Bring in my snail here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this pretty designer series paper and just put it right in the center there. So on every other one, I have the designer series paper. And then I have a 1-inch Whisper White square. So I have 3 of them already done. Let me do one more. Then I took a scrap of the magenta and a scrap of the purple, and I brought in my dog punch, and there's a little heart with that dog punch. So I just punched out a purple and a magenta. Okay, so candy. This one, I'm going to put in some Snickers, Valentine Snickers, and this is what I actually did. I actually took a baggie and cut off the top. So this is eight Snickers. I just got them centered there. And then I brought in some twine just for the first tie here. I'm going to tie that up. I'm going to make a quick tag. And I'm going to punch that out with the straight edge. Then I'm going to bring in a scrap of the gorgeous grape. Then I'm going to bring in my hole punch. I just want to tie this up the first time with a knot. And then we'll put a pretty ribbon on. So I'm tying the tag on first, then I'm going to put a ribbon on. Okay, let's see what we got here. Kind of fix the candy up, fix the bow. There you go. You see that? Cool, huh? I do like that. It's fun. So thanks so much. Do you like the candy bowl? You guys really seem to like it. You guys gave me a lot of comments and wanted to know how I made it and everything. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much when I forgot to cut off the little tabs. But when you're making it, you're going to look at tomorrow, you're going to look on my blog, you'll see the dimensions and what you do, you're going to get it. It's not that hard, it's simple. So again, let's see, tonight we used oval occasions, we used the double punch, I used the dog punch for the hearts, and one of my favorite staples is that little chamois to clean all your stamps. So again, thanks so much for being here. Leave me your comments, questions, share my video. So thanks again for being here. Don't be shy, stamp and shout.